Not over. The Orioles and the Astros refuse to continue to play, or Angel Hernandez refused to stop the game. I don't know what happened, but there's something crazy and something kind of unique going on. And I won't say what it is because I know how the baseball gods think. So while we are in a rain delay, I figured I'd bring on Connor Newcomb from the Locked On Orioles podcast to talk about this wild game in this series where the Astros are squaring off against the Orioles in Camden Yards. Locked On Astros starts now.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and I am Htown Wheelhouse, and you can find me at Htown Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. And joining me again for a second night, I have another guest as Eric is out of the main chair and I'm taking the helm. We've got Connor Newcomb from the Locked On Orioles podcast. Connor, I know your Twitter handle is on there, but since those that listen to the podcast don't see what we're doing or our template, tell them where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, you can find me at Connor Newcomb _, and you can find the podcast at Locked On Orioles as well.
Man, this is a great thing for you to come on. Sorry, we haven't had. I don't know that I've had you on before. Maybe you and Eric have talked, but I think this is the first time you and I have interacted via podcast, and so I really appreciate you taking the time. And I know for you, it's even later than it is for us here in the Central Time Zone. So we come to Baltimore. The Astros right now are red hot on a 7-game win streak. Everything seems to be working. Now we look at the flip side in Baltimore. We know this story in Baltimore right now. Cedric Mullins, the offense isn't a bad offense. It's just the pitching that you guys have been lacking. I believe you'll have a lot of issues where your starters aren't going more than 4 innings recently. What's it been like in Baltimore? Is Cedric Mullins all the buzz in the land of Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the offense. It had been going okay, obviously, until tonight. But, yeah, Mullins has been fantastic. And, the latest All-Star ballots came out today with him in 9th among AL outfielders. And, I mean, he's leading all center fielders in baseball in pretty much every offensive stat. And so, a lot of the fan voting has to do with the fact that the Orioles are probably the worst team in baseball. But, I'm hoping he'll be an all-star starter. And if not, they're definitely going to put him on the team. But he's been fantastic. I mean, he went through, the only time he slumped at all this year was, maybe late May. He went into a little bit of a funk, but it really wasn't even a slump. It was just, he wasn't hitting 300. And then right back to it, he's up around 330 right now. He's hitting home runs too, which is, I think, the key for Cedric Mullins. You look at the guy, he's 5'10", kind of a speedy outfielder, not very big at all. And, he's got 13, 14 home runs. I think that's the big out of the leadoff spot too, and all the at-bats he's getting. I mean, he's been fantastic to watch. He's always been an incredible defensive center fielder as well, can always swipe a bag. But this is a whole new player. This is a guy who was in Double-A in 2019 and now is just killing it and should be, in center field at Coors Field next month.
I get flashes of Michael Bourne, who we had several years ago with the Astros out of Houston and Eisenhower High School. And, Michael Bourne wasn't the home run threat. He was a very decent offensive player. He was a great center fielder. He could run. He was actually my son's favorite player. He was the first player that my son growing up latched onto. Because, my son was born in 2008, so he's post Biggio Bagwell era. All he knows them as old retired Hall of Famers now. But this episode, I've got to mention, is brought to you by Locked On MLB. Join the walking baseball encyclopedia, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call him Sully. Every down, Locked On MLB for a unique look at the majors, both present and past, featuring exciting guest interviews, routine check-ins from the Locked On MLB Network's local experts like Connor Newcomb in the Baltimore area, myself and Eric Heisman in Htown. That's right, an insightful analysis on the day's biggest stories. Locked On MLB is the single best source for daily baseball talk. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcast. And, you know, in a season like you guys are having, it's good to have someone or something to go to the park to cheer for. And that's something that coming into tonight, and we can talk about this so far without saying certain buzzwords, no pun intended on the word buzz, but I digress. That, you know, coming in, I was like, I hope Cedric Mullins doesn't hit a home run off of us. You know, I hope that some of these hitters don't get hot, because you have what I call the first game of this series would be your traditional trap game, where you come off a hot series, you sweep a division leading Chicago White Sox to come into Baltimore where you're expected to win. And everyone's like, we're going to obliterate them. And then they just flip the table. And so far, that hasn't seemed to be the case through the first 8 innings.
Yeah, it definitely has been the case. Obviously, with the Orioles bats not quite waking up so far, and we'll see if they finish this game. The tarp's off, but the field looks bad. But you know, the other thing for the Orioles is, you know, just, you know, what they can trot out there pitching wise right now. Like, you know, everyone knows Cedric Mullins at this point. And I think the other Oriole that everyone is paying attention to, besides Trey Mancini for obvious reasons, has been John Means this year. You know, he threw a no-hitter. Yep. He was in the Cy Young, you know, conversation. He's been out for weeks now with a shoulder injury, and he's not expected back probably until after the All-Star break. So, you know, you don't even have, you know, before that, when you're an opposing team, you're thinking, all right, if we avoid Means in a 3-game series, we got a good chance to sweep the Orioles. And now he's not there. And to be honest, Bruce Zimmerman had quietly been the Orioles' second best starter. He was just placed on the injured list on Friday. So the starting pitching is just not even that it's disappointing. They just don't have the options right now. And so Keegan Aiken pitches tonight, who is a rookie who made a few starts in 2020 and has come back up in 21. And, you know, he's a guy who kind of, he, you know, doesn't have a very, you know, kind of has a high floor, I would say. You know, I think he can be a solid major league pitcher, maybe out of the bullpen, but his ceiling is not super high. So, you know, when you see nights like tonight where, you know, he pitches 4 innings, he gives up 5 runs, you know, you hope for better from him, but also, you know, what his stuff is. And, you know, he does not have dominant stuff. And that's kind of the guys the Orioles are forced to run out there right now.
Well, you know, Aiken, I mean, he had like 5 strikeouts. You know, he had some and that's just what makes baseball unique, is you can have a pitcher that from like at bat to at bat can have a somewhat dominant showing with some of the batters. Like, I mean, he had Carlos Correa befuddled his first 2 at bats. I think some of that was a little help from you know, Hernandez. You know, I mean, Angel Fernandez, his odd strike zone. You know, we won't get into complaining about umpires on this show, because we all know we have our say about certain umps. But I know for a fact that I would not want to be in any of their shoes. One of our guys is asking, this is a regular on the show. He says, should Belak take over for Javier, or should Javier stay in? And, you know, right now, I mean, Belak was getting warmed up, and you don't like to warm up pitchers and then sit them down and then make them go cold again. There's something challenging about that physically. You know, Javier came in. I don't know if you know this, Connor, but he has the highest percentage of first pitch balls in all of major leagues. Like he has the lowest percentage of first pitch strikes in the major leagues, but he has been a blessing, whether he has started or now gone to the bullpen and become this converted piggyback starter and just done a phenomenal job. And it seems like he's kind of had his way with Baltimore. Now, I have a question, just something aesthetically I was looking at. You know, I love Camden Yards. It's one of the baseball parks that I know I have to get to before I leave this earth and go into the sky. But Camden Yards, I noticed the sparse crowd. Is a sparse crowd because of attendance restrictions or the last place of the Orioles. You know, I mean, what is the sparse attendance? What is the capacity that Baltimore is allowing in their ballpark right now?
Yes, the Orioles are back to almost full capacity, I think, is what's
Okay.
happening. They have certain sections they haven't opened yet, but I think it's kind of sections they know won't really fill up anyways. But mostly it's pretty much open, and basically you're looking at, Monday night, June, Orioles have 23 wins, rain in the forecast. Although people feel strongly about the Astros, they don't, carry the same weight that a game against the Red Sox or the Yankees or, the Nationals carries. And also, you're not going to get the traveling fan base from the Astros, obviously in Baltimore, than you did, when the Mets were here a couple weeks ago, or when the Yankees are here, or teams like that are here. So that's what gets you this crowd, which is out there tonight.
Right, definitely. I just wondered, that was just more of a personal wondering. But I kind of want to talk about Jake Odorizzi, because I was heavily critical of him at the beginning of the season. Came in 0-3, wasn't looking good, was making comments like, I just don't know how to pitch at Minute Maid. I'm going to have to learn. I know I'm a fly ball pitcher. And it just seemed like the confidence waned. And of course, I don't know that I really studied like how much went into his offseason, what went into him post injury, but it just appeared to me that we possibly weren't getting all-star Odorizzi. We were getting a different version of that. And No Digital Money just asked, is the game over? No, it is not. Is it a rain delay? But we are not going to wait till 1 a.m. to do a podcast on a rain delay game. So get this, Jake Odorizzi has not allowed an earned run against the Orioles in each of his last 4 starts, including tonight. Allowing just 1 unearned run in that span. He's tossed 22 innings with that streak. So I guess with tonight, he left in the, what inning did he leave in?
Yeah, he pitched 5 tonight.
Okay, pitched 5. Okay, so 22 and 5. Sorry, I'm not a math teacher. 27 innings. He's only allowed 12 hits, and tonight he did not add to that. That's all I'll say. With 25 strikeouts, he added 9 to that total. So now he's got 34. Good Lord, I'm challenging myself with math. But he's just the second traditional starting pitcher in Major League history to make 4 straight starts against the Orioles without allowing an earned run, joining none other than Reb Russell, left-handed pitcher. Don't know who that is. Sorry, baseball nerds, who did this in 4 straight complete games against the O's from 1915 to 1916. That's pretty cool. Odorizzi has silenced my criticism of him. I was critical, and I stand corrected. And I'm more of a what have you done for me lately type of person, and he's doing it. You talk about the pitching woes in Baltimore. I guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were all on this podcast. We were at Astros Twitter, where it's like, oh my gosh, like this team's not going to make the playoffs. Like there's no way our bullpen's going to survive a 7-game series. And so we were really worried about that. Another person that kind of owns the Orioles. Now, okay, let me ask you this. Whenever a player comes into your ballpark that seems to have great success, like Yordan Alvarez, do you like watching him hit home runs because it seems like an inevitable thing just because he's so good at what he does? I know for us, Albert Pujols killed us. He was an Astros killer. He killed us in the playoffs. I mean, there's a much longer, deeper history. But what's it like for an Orioles fan to watch Yordan Alvarez come in? Because now he has 4 home runs in 4 games at Camden Yards.
Yeah, I know a lot of that happened in that, what was it, 22-1 game, 23-1 game that was played here in 2019. And I think he hit one of those off a position player. So I will say that. However,
okay,
he is a great hitter, obviously. And, I think Orioles fans know that Alvarez has had success against them. But the big thing for O's fans is they don't have a lot of room for thinking about other guys who crushed them, because this is kind of an aside, but Randall Grichuk of the Blue Jays has these absurd career numbers against the Orioles that he has taken up all the space in Orioles fans' heads for Oriole killer players right now, that I think half the people wouldn't even realize what Alvarez is doing to the team. But he's a fun guy to watch hit. And, especially obviously with the park he can hit it in Houston in right field. And then, he's obviously has the ability to hit the ball, onto the flag court and Camden Yards. But that's what makes the home run from tonight so impressive. I mean, lefty, Keegan Aiken, has him 1-2 and thinks he can beat him up high with a fastball and, thinks worst case scenario, he'll foul this pitch off. Instead, he takes it the other way down the line. And, what do you, I talked about Aiken struggling tonight, but like, what are you supposed to do? Like, that was a pretty solid pitch. It's not like he left a fastball down the heart of the plate. And, Alvarez is just that good of a hitter.
No, yeah, exactly. And, when you have a wealth of power or you have a wealth of issues on the mound, you probably need to call someone like Wealthfront. They have decades of data that show that investors that trade individual stocks underperform the market every year. In fact, only 1% of day traders beat the market. The odds are not in your favor if you're doing it alone. Team up with Wealthfront instead. Oakland A's could have used that tonight as they got beat by the Rangers. Investing can be complicated, but whether you're a beginner or you've been investing for years, Wealthfront makes it easy. They have the right tools for every portfolio. So listen to this, Connor. Wealthfront can create a portfolio of globally diversified, low-cost index funds personalized just for you in minutes. No rain delays, no tarps. I mean, they're there. No manual trades, no picking stocks, no watching the stock market every day. They automatically handle all the investing based on preferences that you control. Imagine if we could have that kind of control over our teams, how much better we would be. Wealthfront can help you lower the taxes that you pay as you invest. For the average client, their tax loss harvesting can more than cover the low annual 0.25% advisory fee. Best of all, it's automatic. So check this out. Best of all, Wealthfront is trusted with over $20 billion of assets, and they're going to let you manage They're going to manage your first $5,000 that you send to them. They're going to manage it for life for free. And you only need $500 to start. So go to wealthfront.com right now /LockedOnMLB. That's WEALTHFRONT.com /LockedOnMLB and start growing your savings today. And also, so here's the thing, Connor, there are a lot of things going on with the All-Star voting with Cedric Mullins. And if people want to bet on Cedric Mullins, maybe winning Rookie of the Year, maybe they should go to Bet Online. It's the fast and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at Bet Online. Get all the latest news, odds, and info on all your sporting needs: MLB, NBA, NHL, and or UFC, and MMA action. Before the next pitch of the rain-delayed game or the next pitch in Game 2 of the series, go to Bet Online on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for the run for the playoffs. Head to the website and use your mobile device. Sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus for your first deposit. Bet Online, your sportsbook experts. Use a promo code Locked On. So the game has resumed as we speak, and I've got the game day feed pulled up, and it's 3 balls, 1 strike, 1 out, and it looks like Castro ended up striking out, and Jose Altuve is at the plate. So as we speak, the game was going to resume. So they were dead set on finishing this game. When I was looking at the radar, it looked like the storm's moving pretty quickly, but with these things, the way things were ponding, it looked like I'm surprised they actually didn't call it. And so it looks like someone here, we're going to hold on one second. I had to put someone on timeout here in the comments section. That's awesome. So Connor, going forward, what are some things that you think the Orioles need to build on, or what do they have to look forward to this season? We've already talked about the limited resources pitching wise. Is there anybody else that can come up and help you guys out that are in your minor league system, can kind of provide another spark like Cedric Mullins has, or are you playing with the hand that you're dealt?
Yeah, so the Orioles' top 3 prospects are all in Double-A right now. You have Adley Rutschman, who is about to be the number 1 prospect in baseball because Wander Franco just got called up. But they have him there. Then they have their 2 top pitching prospects, Grayson Rodriguez, who's the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball, and then DL Hall. All of them could be ready for the big leagues this year. I don't think the Orioles are going to call them up until 2022. So right now for the Orioles, there's a couple more guys in AAA who either have made, very short appearances in the big leagues or haven't made their big league debut yet, who are on the Orioles top 30 prospect lists. Guys like Mike Baumann, Zach Lowther, Alex Wells, who are all starting pitchers. We could see all of them at some point this year. There are some hitters, Jahmai Jones, who is a second baseman, who is going to probably be the next Oriole to make his major league debut. So there's those guys to watch out for, but none of the top prospects are still coming this year. So it could continue to kind of get uglier. Really what we're looking forward to right now is John Means returning off the injured list. Like that's the thing to look forward to.
Yeah, that, and that's what you have to do in seasons like this. You have to find the bright spots. The Astros have had a lot of seasons like that. The Orioles, so a little bit of history with myself. I saw the first game that Cal Ripken Jr. played at the ballpark in Arlington when it first opened. And when the ballpark in Arlington opened, I was in college and then I was in seminary. And so I got to see a lot of first when that park first opened. I got to see Derek Jeter's first game in Arlington. I got to see the first time I saw Randy Johnson pitch was actually in Arlington. And so that was a really cool thing. And so you've got to go for these, positives. The Astros have been scoring runs in bunches, but something I wanted to point out for the Astro fans listening is something cool about Yuli Gurriel. Yuli Gurriel, out of his last 16 times being at the plate with the runner on third, he's driven in the runner 15 of those 16 times. He now has 9 sacrifice flies, and Yuli Gurriel is the ultimate unselfish hitter at the plate. He does what he needs to do, and he's got this uncanny ability to keep his hands in and drive the ball up the middle to what they call the deep part of the field between right center and left center, and hit that ball far enough so the guy at third can score. That plays well right now. I think something like that will play well in the playoffs. And I mentioned earlier that Oakland lost to Texas. 6 of our last 8 games, I believe, are against the Oakland A's or something like that to end the season. So it's going to be a fun in-division rival season series. This Astros lineup boasts guys like Altuve, Correa, Yordan, Bregman, who's on the IL, Tucker. Of these players, now I'm going to ask you an odd question because not many people are rooting for our guys. But if I said you have to root for one Astros player today, and they're not playing the Orioles, they're playing someone else, who would you pick to root for and why?
I'm going to give you 2 answers. I'm going to give you a very selfish answer, which is Carlos Correa anchors my fantasy team. And if the Orioles were to really go for it, he would be the perfect first big piece to pay for before they got good with his upcoming free agency.
Ooh.
So that would be something to do. I don't think the Orioles will do it. Obviously, Mike Elias has the connection to him being in Houston. I don't think they would do it. But, in non as selfish ways, I've always liked Michael Brantley. And I think he's a lot of people's answers here. He just, I feel like has been underrated his whole career. I mean, you think about the issues that Cleveland has had finding outfielders since he left. And I know he had the injury issues, but you just can't believe that they let him walk and how good he has been with Houston. I mean, he's not the guy hitting the big home runs. He's not the guy hitting 35, 40 a year. Like he leaves that to Yordan and to Correa and those guys. But, if you need a hit in this Astros lineup, just a single up the middle, a single the other way, somebody put one in the gap, like I might trust Brantley more than anybody else. And then I just, like his approach at the plate. And, he seems like a guy to root for because I feel like, Cleveland almost kind of cast him away and felt like his career was over. And it obviously was not at all.
Yeah, Brantley has, everybody wants Brantley to stay. We want to keep giving him these 2-year contracts. The same thing with Yuli. I think that Yuli has become a fan favorite for us. And a lot of people are saying when he gets to the point of retirement, they should sign him as a consultant to the Cuban League because he's got the pipeline to the Cuban players. His dad is, I don't know if you know this, his dad is like Michael Jordan in Cuba when it comes to baseball. The Gurriels are basically royalty. And I believe the Astros and the White Sox have this cornered Cuban baseball talent market in their back pocket, which is, I think, a lot of the young players like Abreu and those guys with the Yoan Moncada, who, gosh, he needs to work on his defense. I don't know if you saw him against us this last weekend. He played a terrible defensive third base for a guy that had so much hope coming in when he first came up with the Red Sox and then got traded to the White Sox. I believe in that Chris Sale trade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Moncada just hasn't paid the dividends I think they've wanted him to pay, but he still has that high upside. We've got one more sponsor, I believe, to mention tonight. Actually, two more. No, just one more sponsor tonight to mention. That's rockauto.com. And Connor, if you're having troubles with your vehicle and you need, let's just say you have a tail lamp out, you need to go to rockauto.com, because when you want to fix your car, you want to save money. They have hundreds and increasing numbers of makes and models. It's impossible to put all these parts in one chain store. So why not go to rockauto.com? They've been around for 20 years. They are a family-owned business. Why choose to spend 30, 50, sometimes 100% more? For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 in your store. Rock Auto, it's $216. I had a friend of mine literally send me, he asked me for a discount code for Rock Auto. I was like, well, there's not a discount code. You can tell them that we sent you, but the discount will say enough. And he said, oh, you're right. And he sent me the image of the part that he wanted from a dealership. It was like $500. And at rockauto.com, it was literally $117. And so I've seen it firsthand. I know Jeff Snide from Locked On Dodgers used them recently and got brake pads. And I even looked at brake pads doing my own brakes on my Nissan Titan. And oh my gosh, is it so cheap? So everybody should go to rockauto.com. They have reliably low prices for every customer. They don't treat you differently because you're not a professional mechanic. So go explore the easy to use website. And when you get to the how did you hear about us box, write Locked On in there and let them know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Let's see what this game is doing now. It is 9-0 now. And it looks like so Jose Altuve had walked. Chas McCormick was called out on strikes. Michael Brantley doubled on a sharp fly ball to left field. To Austin Hayes, deflected by center fielder Cedric Mullins. Miles Straw and Robel Garcia scored. So now the Astros are taking a more commanding lead, 9-0. Taylor Jones just walked, came in the game. Now Garrett Stubbs. Now it's the, no offense, but it's the Sugarland Skeeters versus the Baltimore Orioles. Our young guys, Taylor Jones was tearing the cover off the ball in Sugarland. And this is for those of y'all listening in Baltimore. We had this welcome addition. We hated losing Round Rock. We actually interviewed Reed Ryan on this show a while back, the owner and CEO of Ryan Sanders Enterprises, and they own the Round Rock Express. He hated not being a part, but we in Houston are so glad to have Sugarland because it's literally 15, 20 minutes from my house. It's about 10 minutes from my in-laws. So if my son doesn't want to go to the game, I can drop him off with the grandparents. We can go watch AAA baseball. And it's been great for like Castro. It's been great for the players. Framber Valdez made a spot start. Lance McCullers made a rehab start. And Lance McCullers showed love to all the fans. And so it's been great for our fans to get a more personal touch with our AAA club. Let me ask you, what about y'all's AAA club? Is y'all's AAA club close to Baltimore?
So it is actually the only minor league club in the system that is not in Maryland.
Really?
So the Norfolk Tides, which are in Norfolk, Virginia, which is, a little bit of a drive. Obviously, it's in a neighboring state, and the other three teams are all in Maryland. But it's interesting because of the issues the Orioles have had in their system in recent years, and because the kind of the pitching they've had for the last decade plus. People talk about the Norfolk shuttle, which is just relievers coming back and forth. And Norfolk is, obviously the wins and losses don't matter as much in the minor leagues, but the Norfolk Tides have been terrible for a while. And they're the only Orioles minor league team with a losing record right now because of the same thing. The Orioles are just kind of shuffling guys back and forth. But you did mention, kind of the Sugarland Skeeters are in the game. And I did kind of want to ask, obviously it's a 9-0 game. You're going to put these guys in for obvious reasons. The field is a mess. You want to get your starters off the field. But with what is currently happening, we'll just say to the Orioles offense, I just wanted to get your thoughts kind of, you're somewhat putting in your second line of defense as well. And I just was wondering what your thoughts on that with still 6 outs to get here.
Yeah. Dusty Baker's going to Dusty Baker. You know, at the end of the day, I don't know. As a manager, do you consult pitchers? Hey, do you mind if I start putting these guys in, or do you just say, hey, I'm the manager, I do it? I think at the end of the day, the way that they feel like maybe their pitchers are delivering it, that maybe they feel like they have enough reliability in their defense. Taylor Jones goes in at first. He's definitely not Yuli Gurriel. Stubbs out in left field. I don't mind. I love Alvarez coming out of the game right now. He does not need to be out there, especially coming off double knee surgery. Robel Garcia has actually come in, and he's done a good job, I think, at second base. I don't think that's a big problem. Obviously, they still have Correa and they still have Toro, and you can't pull Toro because we don't have Elimnes Diaz. And earlier in the game, I called it a hybrid Bregman-Chimenetti play where he snagged a ball that I thought was going past him, and he turned around and he unloaded an absolute laser. And Garrett Stubbs gets up and he hits a double on a ground ball to right field. DJ Stewart, Michael Brantley, and Taylor Jones. Michael Brantley scored, and Taylor Jones at third is now 10-0. So the wheels are, as they say, falling off in Baltimore right now. You know, it's like, dang, maybe we should have waited until after. But, man, there's no telling how long this game's going to go. They're sitting on 2 outs, Connor. And this seems to be how things have gone for the Orioles all season long. Well, maybe not all season. Y'all started out really hot? Am I not correct?
Yeah, I mean they swept the Red Sox to start the year, and actually, you know, when not that they were playing great baseball, but when John Means threw the no-hitter in Seattle in early May, that got the Orioles to 15-16, which obviously is not an amazing record, but you know, with this roster, if you're sitting around 500, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Then, legitimately, right after the no-hitter, the wheels fell off for the Orioles. They lost 18 straight road games after that, with a streak they finally ended. Or no, I lied. It has not ended. They won a home game the other day, but they have not ended the road losing streak yet, which is still active.
Really?
Yeah. So the Diamondbacks just set the new MLB record with 23, and the Orioles are trying to come for that. But yeah, the other thing about what's going on right now in the 8th inning, I believe Houston's got altogether 3 in this inning. Yeah.
Yes.
Max Soroller is the pitcher, who is a Rule 5 draft selection from the Reds. He has missed most of the season with injury. He pitched twice in April, got hurt, just came back. He has not been able to get guys out, and he is looking like a candidate to be returned to the Reds from the Rule 5 draft. Wow. And this could be the outing that kind of finishes it off. Now, he's been hurt, so it's not like his 18 ERA is over, 15, 20 games. It's over 5 games now, I think. But you are getting the true mop-up guy right now for the Orioles, and I would not be surprised if you saw a position player pitching in the 9th inning of this game.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, why not? Not to overuse a word, but it does seem to be a wash at this point. You would like the Astros to continue what they're doing right now. Again, I'm not going to say something on this podcast and then be slaughtered on Twitter like Houston media guys do all the time, talking about things. You can go to the MLB app and see what I'm talking about. But Carlos Correa is up. And, Carlos Correa, you had mentioned him as being possibly one of the targets that you guys would like. And that's one of the things. So he did get out. Carlos Correa ended the 3rd inning. He grounded softly to the pitcher, who threw it to Trey Mancini. And, hey, real quick, I'm going to go back to this because I want to mention this in the beginning. I interviewed Pete Solomon for the Sugarland Skeeters, and I asked him who he was most afraid to face and who he wanted to face the most in the major leagues. And his answer was the same for both. He said Trey Mancini. He knows Trey Mancini. They grew up playing baseball together. And he says, because he's a good friend, I would love to face him, but I'm also know how good of a hitter he is. So I would hate to face them all at the same time. So apparently Pete Solomon and Trey Mancini have close personal ties. And so I know Pete Solomon kind of wishes he was up here. I interviewed him, I think about a week and a half ago at Sugarland, but I thought that was a cool connection there with Trey Mancini and coming back from colon cancer. And that story in itself is just something to go to the ballpark, go see this guy do day in and day out to show the ability just to put this behind you. How has the community rallied around Trey Mancini?
Yeah, it's been great. And it's awesome that, he's the most talented player probably. And Mullins is making a beat for that potential, but he is the best baseball player on this roster. And so just from a baseball stance to lose him, like, if you remember last year, like the Orioles ended up 25-35, but they kind of had a pretty surprising 2020 shortened season for the amount of talent they had. And if you had Trey Mancini in that lineup, like the Orioles only finished, I think, 4 games out of a playoff spot last year. Like they could have snuck in as the 8th team in the American League if they would have had Trey Mancini. But, it's been fantastic for him to not just, get back on the field. Like it's amazing that he's playing baseball, but he's leading the team in home runs, RBIs. He's a potential all-star. He's probably on the outside looking into the all-star team right now, but, is up there in a lot of offensive categories. And he's been fantastic. And, just to have him back and Baltimore loves him. I mean, fantastic guy all around. And just the perfect guy to have as kind of the face of your team. And, it's becoming closer and closer to his free agent year without a contract. He's a free agent after next season. And, I think 99% of Orioles fans would love to see him get an extension at some point because, not only has he earned it on the field, but with his story and what he does in the community, like you just want him on your team.
Excellent. That's really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the show so I know where to stop it. But you and I, if you want to, are going to stay on and maybe talk to the fans and see what they, just kind of talk to them, let them know. So thank you, Connor Newcomb, for joining us on the Locked On Astros podcast. He is the Locked On Orioles host. And if you want to know all things Trey Mancini, Cedric Mullins, Rauchman, whoever it is with the Orioles organization, go check him out. Go check out his podcast. Subscribe to him. Connor, tell us one more time, the audience listening, where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Connor Newcomb _. You can follow the podcast at Locked On Orioles. And you can listen to the podcast wherever you get your pods and wherever you listen to Locked On Astros.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And today on the Locked On Today podcast, the Nets and 76ers have questions to answer. Get more of the sports news you need in less time with the Locked On Today podcast. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on the Audacity app or wherever you get your podcast. This is Htown Wheelhouse and Connor Newcomb, and we are signing out for Locked On Astros. I'm going to stay live. So you can choose to stay live with me or not. It is completely up to you. What I'll do is I'll continue to run this is running live on YouTube, and it looks like Belak is in. He's got a 2-strike, 1-ball count. One ball, 2 strikes. I sound like Yoda here calling a game. That would be interesting. A Yoda commentating a Major League Baseball game, I think, would be hilarious.
Yeah. I can stick around for like 10 more minutes. And then
cool. Okay, excellent. So it's a foul ball. There's three foul balls in this count. It looks like DJ Stewart is fighting Brandon Belak really, really hard right now. So it's 10-0. Astros have 12 hits. We won't say what the Orioles have. I don't want to be that guy. And there's a ball. So it is a 2-2 count right now. And I believe the MLB Game Day app is pretty close to being like spot on with like actual pitch delivery.
It's pretty quick.
The radio delay is crazy. I don't know about y'all's, but our radio delay always seems like it's half a minute or a minute behind on the broadcast, which I think is odd. You would think it would be same time, as the live game day. All right. So Baltimore's got DJ Stewart up. DJ Stewart's batting.
Out.
He just struck out.
Yeah, he struck out.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So there's one away in the 8th.
All right, one away in the 8th inning. And so Brandon Belak has got 1 out. He's got 2 more to get. And then more than likely, I'm wondering if they'll keep him in or if they'll bring in Presley, because this is a 20 games in 20 days stretch. So you probably want to save your key guys for key situations. Let's see. Okay, no, I thought someone got switched. It said pitching substitution. That was before that. So Brandon Belak's facing Austin Hayes right now. Let's see.
And I would I would be interested to see, obviously for Astros fans' sake, I won't name it, but with this situation, normally in a 10-0 game, you're probably not throwing Ryan Presley in the ninth inning.
Right.
But in this type of 10-0 game, I don't know if I've watched many, we'll just say games like this where we'll just say the starter is out, but this is still going on. And so it's interesting when it's 10-0 how you use your bullpen.
Yeah.
And
Well, so right now you've got a swinging strike, a ball, and a called strike on Austin Hayes from Brandon Belak. So, hey, you know what? If Brandon Belak's rolling and you feel like he's got the hitters on their heels, why not? Because after this you have Franco, and then you have your 8, 9, and 1 hitters. Maybe you bring Presley in to face Mullins,
I mean,
if they go down in order.
I got to tell you right now, if Austin Hayes does not, get on base here in any way, I mean, the next 3 are in the Orioles lineup are basically automatic outs right now.
Okay.
You've got Stevie Wilkerson, who's been terrible all year, and then you've got Franco and Severino, who are both really, really slumping. And Austin Hayes just got hit by a pitch, so he is on base, but it was by a hit by pitch.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
But
yeah.
So these next 3 guys are pretty much auto outs, but at least with that, you would hope that Mullins is going to get one more chance, because there's your there's the guy you really got to get out if you're the Astros.
True. Yeah. He's the guy you hope hits into a double play, right? Because he is 0-for-3 today. There are a lot of offers, I would say. A lot of 2 strikeouts, multi-strikeout games for the Orioles today. The Astros pitchers have 12 strikeouts total. What's amazing is Odorizzi got those 9 strikeouts. I don't know if you noticed early in the game, he wasn't getting, he was getting swings and misses, but he was also throwing the ball down the middle and challenging them with 93, 94 and getting them to swing. And when you're able to challenge, and when you had the issues Odorizzi had at the beginning of the season, that's got to be a massive confidence booster for Odorizzi, because when he came to us from the Twins as a free agent, I know Javi Pena from Locked On Padres was like, he was the guy that I wanted us to go after, and we didn't. And of course, Blake Snell's turned into this, they don't know who he is anymore, because I don't know if you saw his little Joker impression from his Locked On Now, but Blake Snell hasn't performed the way he's supposed to, and now Odorizzi's, looking like an all-star once again. So it looks like we got no balls, 2 strikes on Maikel Franco. And y'all have got some guys, Franco, you've got Galvis, some guys that I remember when they first came up, there was some buzz about those guys, and I guess for whatever reason, maybe they haven't performed up to par, and that's the thing, you never know with guys. So now we've got 1 ball, 2 strikes with a foul ball. Like Galvis as a shortstop, how is he defensively?
He's solid. He's not crazy flashy. Like the Orioles had Jose Iglesias last year. Like that's a flashy, big time defensive shortstop. And Galvis is just solid. He's solid at the plate. He's a good switch hitter. I like the signing by the Orioles, honestly. And I have Brett, I have bad news for you.
Uh-oh.
Maikel Franco has just hit a 2-run home run.
No.
And we can say what we need to say, but the no-hitter is over. The shutout is over. And it is a 10-2
man.
game.
Now, let the record show that neither I nor my co-host tonight said anything about them not getting any hits. We literally never said the word no-hitter. So you cannot blame Locked On Astros, probably one of those beat writers from Houston that ruined it for everybody, or the guy I saw on Facebook that put in real big, Odorizzi's throwing a no-hitter. I'm like, oh God, dude, cancel you right now. Anyways, you know what? With that being said, Connor, I think we're going to wrap it up, because I've got some editing to do.
Probably
and I've got to edit out like 10, 15 minutes of this bad boy. But anyways, Thank you for joining us. Thank everybody for hanging in. And yes, World Traveler, who's a faithful follower, she said, I need my beauty sleep. I do as well. because if I'm ever going to get into a bikini, that's an inside joke with our listeners, I've got to get my rest. And Connor's like, wow, this went really weird fast. So y'all have a good one. This is Htown Wheelhouse with Locked On Astros. We are your team every day. Connor, thanks again. Have a good one.
Brett.